Welcome back, guys. This is Ravi. Today we're going to be talking about the quadriplegic amputee professional cornhole player who's being suspected of shooting and murdering a man. And this all happened pretty recently. Like, he's still on trial, and if I'm not mistaken, he's pleading not guilty because of self-defense. But when I first heard that headline in general, just the fact that, first off, he's a quadriplegic amputee, which means that he has no legs, no arms, right? And so that got me thinking, like, how in the world did he get the gun ready? How did he cock it? How did he reload it? How did he actually fire it at him? So that got me thinking about that. Then the news article also said that after the shooting went down, he drove away, which was more confusing to me than the whole shooting aspect of it. But let's go ahead and deep dive into it.
He acted alone on this.
Now watch closely. You're looking at the man accused of murder in this case. Video from his TikTok page titled "No Hands, No Feet, Shooting 9mm Handgun."
On the night of March 22nd, 2026, which is less than a week of the date of this recording, a Charlotte Hall, Maryland resident stepped out into her yard and discovered something very unusual. I mean, I'll let you guys go ahead and take a guess, but I feel like we all know what it was. Yeah, it was a body, shot twice in the head. But the man that police were looking for wasn't hiding or anything like that. Instead, he was just 90 miles away in a hospital, and the story that everyone on the internet thought was true was about to get a lot more complicated. So who was Dayton Webber anyways? Well, Dayton Webber was a man who was born with every reason not to be here. And I'm not trying to be rude, but just listen to this. At just 10 months old, he contracted a serious streptococcal blood infection that progressed rapidly to sepsis. The medical team that was working on him faced a crazy decision. Should they amputate all four limbs, or do they just, let him pass away from this? They pretty much gave him a 3% chance of survival, and he took it. By the time Dayton Webber was a young adult, he had become something people genuinely struggled to explain. Like, he was already missing all of his limbs, but he still rode dirt bikes, he wrestled, he played football, and then he found his true calling, competitive cornhole. In 2020, he was crowned the best cornhole player in the state of Maryland. He competed in the American Cornhole League World Championships, and he was even on televised matches on ESPN, who even devoted like a full Sports Center featured profile to his story. So he was getting pretty large in the cornhole community, and a lot of people were taking inspiration from the fact that he's doing so much despite his disability. So how does someone who's, renowned and, millions of people are drawn to inspiration by him, how does someone like that turn into a killer? Well, unfortunately, reality and imagination don't always live in the same place, and that certainly wasn't the case in that one fateful night in Maryland. It was Sunday evening, and Dayton Webber was driving his white Tesla in the Plata area of Charles County, Maryland. But he wasn't alone. There were 3 other passengers in the car with him. And the main person that you need to know is the one in the passenger seat. That person was 27-year-old Bradrick Michael Wells. And according to the 2 other witnesses who were in the car with them, apparently they were really good friends. But unfortunately that night, a severe fight broke out between them. What started as a normal verbal argument just started, turning into yelling, screaming. And according to court documents, what they were mainly talking about was drugs, guns, and a woman. Inside the car, the tension was just ramping up until eventually Dayton snapped and shot Bradrick twice in the head. So what happens next is where it gets really dark. So after shooting Bradrick in the head, he pulls over, and then he asks the 2 passengers in the back to help him remove Bradrick's body from the passenger seat. But they refuse, and they both leave the vehicle. And so Dayton by himself just starts driving, obviously with the body of Bradrick still bleeding profusely, head probably open from the gunshot. And, he drives 12 miles down into a neighborhood in Charlotte Hall. And then there he literally just dumps the body on some random woman's yard. After dumping Bradrick's body, he just kept driving out of Maryland entirely. About 2 hours after the shooting, police in Charlottesville, Virginia located a white Tesla at a Wawa gas station. Parked next door was a hospital, and this was the same hospital that I initially mentioned. Dayton Webber had gone to seek treatment for what court documents describe only as a quote-unquote an unknown ailment. He was taken into custody and was immediately labeled as fleeing from justice. And what this means is that you're really just trying to evade the law. Apparently he made no attempts to flee, which obviously might be tough when you don't have legs. Days later, at an extradition hearing via video call, Webber appeared in a bright green jumpsuit and waived his right to fight extradition. He was transported back to Charles County, and he was charged with the following: assault, a firearms charge, second-degree murder, and, of course, first-degree murder. On April 1st, 2026, Webber appeared in a video conference for his bond hearing. On April 1st, 2026, which is today, Webber appeared in a video conference for a bond hearing, and of course his legal team came ready.
This case, the jury will hear evidence of self-defense, a ton of evidence, and that evidence is not just in that moment. It goes to the knowledge of the deceased by the defendant, and there'll be, as I mentioned in court, there'll be a lot of evidence about that.
So self-defense, right? Well, apparently this gun issue between Webber and Bradrick has been a thing for a while now. His legal team said that there's always been a feud between them because Webber always believed that Bradrick stole a gun from him, and so that's why he thought that his life was in imminent danger. However, the prosecution told a completely different story. According to the DA office, the witness described Webber as the aggressor, a person who was furious that Wells remained close with someone who had allegedly stolen from him and who shot Wells not in fear, but in anger. The judge denied bond, and so Webber will remain in custody until at least a preliminary hearing on May 6th. He hasn't entered a plea yet, but with the fact that the defense is claiming that it was self-defense makes me think that he will be pleading not guilty, but we'll have to find out. Back in 2023 on the Today Show, Webber wrote in an essay, and in one of the sentences that he wrote, he said, quote, "People often underestimate me when they see me, no matter the context." And for years, that's always meant, how people underestimate him, in his daily life, and especially in cornhole, where I'm sure his opponents also underestimated him because of his disabilities. But now, I think it sits a little bit more in a different light.
The county's prosecutor also told the judge while testing continues, a gun with a magazine was recovered from the Tesla and that a box for that gun was found in Webber's home, along with multiple other firearms found inside his home. State's Attorney Karen Piper Mitchell telling the judge, according to the witnesses, the victim and suspect were arguing about Wells still being friends with someone who had previously stolen guns from Webber.
Defense has to represent their client in the best way they can. We continue our investigation, working with, should law enforcement continues their investigation, but the information that I relayed at the bail hearing is the information that we have, is that during an argument, a verbal argument, oral argument, that the defendant shot the victim who was sitting in the passenger seat.
Webber's attorneys didn't answer why. If Webber was afraid, was Wells in his car? Again, saying more will come out in court.
As for what's next, right now in the books, there is a preliminary hearing set for May 6th. Guys.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys want more, please subscribe. And if you made it to the end of the video, you have to. And I also really appreciate you. All right, thank you so much, guys. Catch you next time.